Hi, and welcome to another installment of Math Basics with Mr. Besh. Today we talk about compatible numbers and what they are and what they mean in math. Alright, so here are compatible numbers in action. My first example, if you look at the problem that I have at the top, 8 plus 3 plus 9 plus 7 plus 2 plus 1. What you're doing with compatible numbers is instead of adding from left to right like you taught, what we're doing is we're taking terms that add together or combine together to make 10 and pulling them in sequence. So instead of doing that original problem, we're breaking this down by pulling the 8 in the beginning and the 2 is the second to last term and the 3 and the 7 and the 9 and the 1. And as we group them together, each of which adds up to be 10, and then my problem comes out to be pretty basic, which is just 10 plus 10 plus 10. Normally when a student does the problem up at the top, you start to see the wheels spinning and you start to see the fingers come out, they start counting, and what they do is when you're dealing with a math problem, especially with students in the primary grade or elementary school, more steps mean more problems. And if they can simplify things, that is the key to becoming better at their basic facts. A second example I have here, there are two things about this example. Number one, not all the time can all your numbers combine together. And the other thing that I threw in here is not all the time are you just adding two numbers together to make a multiple of 10. Sometimes you can add three. If you look at this question here, and this is a good problem for strengthening basic skills, a good strong student in primary grades will notice that 9 plus 11 will make 20, and 5 plus 6 are what's giving me 11. And then obviously we have that 7 plus 3 in there. But then last but not least, there's an 8. And there's nothing really to combine together with that. And that's okay, because you're trying to get as many numbers as you possibly can to be multiples of 10 so that the math becomes real simple to add. Alright, so now we really get into it. You see, when your students start developing from that primary grade to elementary school, then they get into middle school, they're introduced to the number line, and then they're introduced to integers. They find out that there are not just positive numbers out there, but there are negative numbers. And when we introduce to students, negative numbers are numbers with minus signs in front of them, where positives can have a plus or no sign at all. And now, what that means for compatible numbers is not all the time are you adding values together to make multiples of 10. Sometimes you're going to take two or three values and subtract to make those multiples of 10. In the example I have at the top of the page, you can see I'm taking a positive 12 and a negative 2, and when I take away 2 from 12, that's going to give me 10. You got positive 7 and positive 3 in the problem, so that's going to make 10. And then last but not least, at the very end of the problem in caboose, you got 24, which is positive, and then you got 4 in the middle of that problem, which is a negative, and 24 take away 4 gives me 20. So not all the time do you have to add these terms together. As you start developing your skills, these become very good fundamental builder type problems to help kids or foster kids to help them develop the number knowledge that they need when it comes to integers. These are pretty good problems and add another tool to their tool belt. Well, that's that. I hope you found this both helpful and informative.